get that. Yep. Huh? Okay, everybody look up. We're going to go over stuff for the AP test. Okay? If you are not taking the AP test for whatever reason, okay, then you don't need to fill out one of these. Okay, but if you are, then we need to go over the deets, okay, of the AP test. So you can put your name on it if you want to. Okay, you're taking the Calc AB test. Okay, hopefully you already know that, given that you've been in this class for a minute. Okay, your test is Tuesday, May 14th. I'm giving you your seat number today as well, so that's why I want you to write this stuff down and put your name on it so it doesn't get mixed up with someone else's. No. Okay, none of them overlap. They may be the same day, but one would be morning, one would be afternoon.
I know, but that's not okay.
Oh. Okay, you need to be in the double gym at 7:30. Now, I know it's so early, so here's what I'll do for you. Guess what it is? Yeah. Ooh, a delicious donut. Okay? If you get there on time, okay, then you'll get a donut. Okay, so if you get there early, obviously you'll have a little time to relax. I'll be there around 7:10. It doesn't take that long to eat a donut. Okay, then also cell phones. If you bring your cell phone, Miss Grissom, AP, whatever, lady, master, she doesn't want you to have a phone in the room because it creates testing irregularities. People forget to turn them off. So I'll have a box and I'll take your phone if you want. I'm not going to steal it from you. Okay, but if you would like to give me your phone, I'll take it up to my room. I'll lock it up. When you're done, you can come take your phone back and be finished. Okay, but she really doesn't want cell phones. You can leave them in your car, but there have been issues in the past with people going to get their stuff, getting caught by the parking lot guy, and then getting referrals and stuff. So I'm happy to take your phone. If you want to leave it in your car, you can, but make sure that they give you a pass saying that you have permission to do that. Because if you go out and get ISS, then maybe you can. Well, they 1 year gave 2 of my kids ISS, and then they couldn't go to prom. So. And I had to argue with Miss Gibson about it. So anyway, leave your phone either in your car and make sure you get a pass, or give it to me and I'll keep it so safe. Okay? Your seat number. I'm just gonna put the list up here. It is in 2 parts. So if you're the first part of the alpha, find your name real quick. Okay, this is from Jesus to Jessica. So Aguirre to Lee. Did I say that wrong? How do you say it? Aguirre.
Oh God.
Okay, and then second half is coming next. So if you're in this part, write it down. And then I'm going to switch. Good. May I turn? No? So Jesus, you're F9. Got it. Now, I don't know why they give you these so soon, but don't plan cheating strategies with the people next to you. Okay, that's bad news. We're all going to be honest and take the test ourselves. Okay, then this is second half. Okay, so find your name, write it down on your sheet so that you're not wandering around that morning looking for where you're supposed to be. Okay? Kelly, your seat number is I8. If you'll write it down on your blue sheet. I8. Okay? Good. You're not on there? You might be in my other class. Yeah, you're right here. You're B8. Yes? We're going to talk about it in a second. Okay? Anybody else need another minute to write this down? Or if you can't read it, I'll tell you. Anybody? Okay. So, Show up on time. The other thing that's kind of weird is not only do you need a pencil, but she would also like for you to bring a black pen or a blue pen, not like gel aqua blue, like a dark blue pen. For the AP paperwork, you have to sign some stuff and that has to be in pen. So if you want to make a note of that, you're going to bring pencils and pens and a calculator. If you forget a calculator, I might have a few with me, but I'm not going to bring all 30. So if you don't have one checked out to you, you need to get one the day before. Make sure it works. Check your batteries. Okay, the other thing that Grissom put on here is pick a friend and call each other to make sure that you don't oversleep. Okay? Now, if you're probably going to get a 1 and you oversleep, then I won't be sad about that. But if you have been trying, okay, then you should be there on time. Okay? No, then show up and do your best, okay? What happens if then you just do your best? That's okay.
Why does the donut have a corn?
With the donuts, I'll be here.
Wait, why is the donut
Well,
gonna
you
be-
won't tell me you did.
Maybe it was plucked from the other donuts, you know?
Where are you gonna be?
Huh?
Are you gonna be in front of the double donut?
Yeah. I'll be down where you guys need to be so that I don't want y'all walking all the way up here and back down too much. Okay? Good. Take a picture of your seat number in case you lose this lovely sheet of paper. Okay, I'll also have your seat numbers. So here's the plan. You'll notice that when you walked in, you got 2 homeworks. Okay, here's the deal. Next week, everybody listening, so I don't have to say it 5 times. Okay, next week, y'all are all going to be out on different days. AP test starts, some people will be gone for this test, that test, blah, blah, blah. So to avoid you not getting stuff and then having to do it late and feeling stressed, I'm just giving you have 3 AP review homeworks. They're each a grade. You should have all 3 of them.
Wait,
Okay.
what are the 3 AP?
So the 2 are right there, and the other one you got like a week ago. It was homework 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so your 3 homeworks will be due on the day of the AP test, or if you're testing, you can give them to me the next day. But if you turn them into me weeks after the AP test, I'm not going to take it because y'all's grades will be done.
Wait, the homework some of them
Okay.
say like quiz.
All that they say are homework 1, homework 2, homework 3. Homework 1 was on limits, homework 2's on derivatives, homework 3's on integrals. Everything else we're doing in class is just to help get you prepared.
Wait,
Okay?
so can I get homework 1 and homework 3?
Homework 3's on that table right there, and I will get you homework 1. It's not on there?
There's no homework 3. There's no homework 3.
Okay.
Wait, where's homework 2? Homework 1 or 2?
Okay, so listen, do I expect you to have all these done by next Friday? No. Okay, you have like 2 weeks to get them done. Okay, I am also going to send out answer keys for all 3 of these to make sure that not only are you doing them, but you're doing them correctly. Okay.
Where's?
Now, what are you confused about, Olivia?
Can you show
I
us
love
what packets that are due?
So I'm passing out homework 3. I thought it was on the table, and it actually wasn't.
So what's this derivative?
So you have homework 2, homework 3 that you're getting right now, and then homework 1 was passed out the day that it was on Friday, right before the.
Oh, I wasn't here for that, that's why.
So I'll get more copies of it. There are a few over there, but I can make a few. Are we passing back?
You can give us.
Oh wait, hold up. There was another one. It was just like
That's okay.
Homework cell.
We're doing the limit practice too. And then we'll work on homework 1. Okay, Mark, you with us? Yes, you have a homework? Okay. We're testing, yeah? Like we're taking AP.
We are?
I don't get more than that. I want the first one, but it keeps my name.
Did I already give you that? Oh, I did. There's some that didn't, that I'm just kind of letting do other things.
Wait, tell me.
What?
So if I didn't sign up, you wouldn't be on my app on everything?
Yep.
It's not even worth it.
I mean, you still have to take like a semester exam and other stuff.
No, I don't. I already did that. Oh, yeah.
No, I'm saying if you didn't take them. So I'll be on them later. What do you need, homework 1?
Oh, are you still sending the paper from yesterday for the after school thing?
Yeah, if you have it, I'm gonna, in a minute, I'll come around and check that. Okay, so when are homeworks 1, 2, and 3 due? AP test not next week, the week after. Okay, the AP test is on Tuesday. You can turn them in on Wednesday. Okay, but after that, it does me no good for you to practice for the AP test after you filled it. Okay? So, do your homeworks first. Yes.
What is that?
It was just if you had signed up to come after school.
I know I did. I lost it.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so the plan for right now is that we're going to run through this little limits practice. There are several typos on it, so if you get ahead of yourself and something looks weird, it might be a typo. Okay? Here you go. Okay, look at number 1. Yes? Yes? Okay, look at the first one. We're going to review a little bit, then you guys are going to work on homework 1 in class for a little bit. Okay, so especially if you're to sign up for the AP test, I need you we have a week left or so, minus a few days because maybe you're taking other tests. Okay, so let's find our inner motivation, okay, to do stuff. Okay, number 1, limit as x approaches 1, ln x over x to the 4th minus 1. You plug in 1, but what happens? Ln of 1 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. L'Hopital's rule. So, L apostrophe H. Okay, and remember that L'Hopital's rule says that if the top and bottom limits come out to 0, you can take the limits of the top and bottom derivatives. Now, keep in mind, that is not, I'm not saying do quotient rule. Okay, you're taking the derivatives separately. So, on top, what is the derivative of ln x? 1 over x. Okay, then on the bottom, what's the derivative of x to the 4th minus 1? 4x cubed. Remember, you multiply first and then take away. Okay? Then from there, you plug in 1 again. So on top, what's 1 over 1? On bottom, what's 4 times 1 cubed? 4? So answer choice, magical E, is the right answer, which is a 4th. Okay? Yeah, I cut off the answer choice E's, and I don't know, I cut off the wrong one. So, oops. Okay, now look at 2 and 3. Okay, 2 and 3 are limits to infinity. How do you do limits to infinity? Bobo, Bot, and Betsy. Very good. Bobo, Bot, Betsy. Okay, so I want you to rewrite the list or the order of the powers of the functions. So the smallest or least powerful functions are sine and cosine. Also, any constant is the same as sine and cosine. Because sine and cosine can't get bigger than 1, so they're basically treated like a constant. Yes, sir?
What happens if you, because L'Hopital's rule is only for limits to infinity, so what happens if you have like numbers, whatever? But
No, so you can use L'Hopital's rule on numbers.
Oh,
It just has to come out to 0 on top and 0 on bottom.
Oh, okay, cool. Never mind.
Okay. So logs come next. Remember that this includes ln, that's a type of log. Okay, then next are your power functions, which would be like x cubed, x to the 3rd, etc. And then the biggest are your exponential functions, which would be like 2 to the x, 3 to the x, etc. Okay? So e counts as an exponential. So I'll list that over here too. Okay? E to the 3rd is a constant, yep. Okay? So, looking at your limits for 2 and 3, x is approaching infinity and negative infinity. Will those limits be different for this function? Okay, the tricky answer is yes. Okay, let's look at my first limit. As x goes to infinity, who's bigger, ln or x to the 4th? X to the 4th, which means is it bigger on top or on bottom? Oh wait, no, yes. bottom. So 0. Okay, I want you to think carefully about question number 3 though. X is approaching negative infinity. What numbers are you allowed to take the ln of? Only positive numbers. So, can you do the limit to negative infinity of a log? No. Okay, it doesn't exist. Okay, and I'm going to put here because ln x is only defined for x greater than 0. Okay, if your x's are negative, you can't even take the log of them anyway. Okay? So, ln x is only defined for x is bigger than 0. Yes, ma'am? So, we are going to get to those, but logs can't move. Okay? So, go to number 4. There was a question on the AP test that said find all the asymptotes. So rather than them giving you specific instructions, you just have to know what to do. Remember, there are 2 types of asymptotes. Horizontal asymptotes are the limit as x goes to plus or minus infinity of 2x plus 1 over 4x squared minus 1. Okay, and remember that if x is going to one of the infinities, you're doing Bobo, Bot, and Betsy. So look at your equation. Which type is this? Bobo. Which means that what's my limit going to? 0. Now, the asymptote for that would be y equals 0. And remember that it's y equals because it's horizontal, yeah? Okay, now, your vertical asymptotes come from the denominator after you have factored and canceled. So, look at the top of that. It's already done for you. 2x plus 1, nothing to factor there. But on the bottom, that's a difference of perfect squares. What is the square root of 4x squared? 2x. What's the square root of 1? So plus 1 and minus 1, yeah? Okay, the terms that cancel out create what in the graph? A hole. So there is a hole in the graph at x equals negative a half. Now, is that the same as an asymptote? No. Okay, if you have a hole, does there still is the limit at that point still defined? Yes. What would you do? You'd take negative a half, plug it back into whatever's left over. So I'm going to put here the limit as x approaches negative a half still exists. Because when that term canceled out, it fixed everything, okay? Now, the term, say it again. Because remember, you set this equal to 0, the thing that we crossed out. Okay, now look at this one. What is x going to equal for this term that was left over? Positive 1/2, that's an asymptote. So my vertical asymptote is at a half. Now, let's review for a second. If my asymptote is at x equals a half, what that means is that the limit as x approaches a half for f of x equals infinity or negative infinity. And I want you to think about why that should make sense to you. Okay, let's just sketch a little graph here. Let's say a half is here. As I go in from the left, if I have an asymptote, what are my y's getting really close to? Infinity, right? Or what if it was an asymptote the other way? Your graph would be getting closer to negative infinity. So this is the definition of a vertical asymptote. X is approaching a number, but the y values are approaching infinity. Versus for a horizontal asymptote, x is approaching infinity, and your y values are approaching a number. Does that make sense? Okay, I know it's been a while since we looked at this, so look at the next one. Number 5, this one's already factored for me, so I'm going to do my asymptotes first. What's going to cross out? Okay, x minus 1s, which means what happens at x minus 1 in the graph? There's a hole at x equals 1. What does that mean about the limit? It still exists. You'd plug in 1 to what's left over, yeah? What was your question? It's not an asymptote, but I'm trying to re-emphasize. If they cross out, there's a hole. Okay? Now, where is your asymptote going to be? Negative 3. So, as x approaches negative 3, you're either shooting up for a positive asymptote or down for a negative asymptote. Okay, now, for your horizontal, Okay, look at what's left over. Okay, if I have x minus 1 and x minus 1 crossed out, the remaining terms, what rule is it going to follow? Bobo, Botan, or Betsy? Okay, Betsy. So it'd be the limit as x approaches plus or minus infinity of 3 minus 2x over x plus 3. And then I would divide these two guys out. Negative 2x over 1x is negative 2 over 1, which means y is negative 2. But remember, why is it y equals? Because it's horizontal. That's the equation for a flat line. Okay? Alright, one more left like that. Look at number 6. Horizontal asymptote, we're doing our Bobo, Botan, Betsy. As x approaches plus or minus infinity of root x over 1 plus x. Is that a Bobo, Botan, or Betsy? Where is it bigger? Bottom. What is square root x the same as? X to the half. So if this is x to the half and this is x to the 1, then x to the 1 is a bigger power function. That makes it a Bobo. So the limit is 0, y is equal to 0. This stuff coming back, hopefully, yes? Okay, then look at your denominator. Nothing's going to cross out. So I don't have any holes in my graph, but I have an asymptote at what value? Negative 1. Very good. And so that means that as I approach negative 1, let's write it out one more time. As x approaches negative 1, f of x is going to be going to one of the infinities. Either shooting up to positive infinity or down to negative infinity, depending on which way the asymptote goes. Okay? Turn the page over. Review a couple more, then we'll start looking at homework 1. Okay, do we remember what's special about your E terms? Okay, they are the highest order power, that's true. Do you remember when the exponent is negative for E, what happens to it? It has to shift. So I'm going to write up here at the very top this rule. Okay, base to the negative x is the same as 1 over b to the x. I'm sure you remember that from Algebra 1. What about if your x was negative on the bottom? Then your term would move up. Now, this is only true for exponentials. It's not true for any of the other functions. So if I'm doing number 7, as x is approaching infinity, who's bigger? Okay, it's bigger on the bottom, so it goes to 0.
Does it matter if it's infinity or negative infinity?
It does. When it's normal infinity, you're not shifting anything.
So when it's negative infinity, you switch it?
But when it's negative infinity, you have to think about, I'm putting my negative into this exponent. That's going to shift my E up. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to have the limit as x approaches normal infinity of 8x cubed times e to the x. That term moves up because an exponential with a negative exponent really belongs on the top. Now question, should my 8x cubed move down? No, it's not exponential. Okay? So now looking at it, what's our limit going to be? Everything's on top over 1. What's bigger, the top or the bottom? The top, which would be, does not exist. So remember that your E's are special. They can move up or down, and that matters. Now, the next two equations, I want you to cross out the x squared. So we're going to make this 4 plus e to the x and 4 plus e to the x.
What if the exponent's already negative?
Then
Like, would they ever give us a problem like that?
I don't think so. Okay. Look at number 9. Now notice we adjusted it. We're taking the x squared out. Okay, for the first one, x is approaching infinity. Okay, think about all of this is over 1. So what's bigger, the top or the bottom? Okay, e to the x is the biggest. It's on the top. So I would make this does not exist. So far, so good? Okay, for your second term, though, for number 10, Okay, this is a little bit different. Can I move e to the x under 4 if they're in separate terms? No. E to the x is on its own. It's not with the 4. It's separate. So what you would do in this case, x is going to be approaching normal infinity, but you're going to do 4 plus, and then e has to move underneath a 1 on its own. So if your e is not part of a bigger fraction, you need to flip it with a 1 on top, okay? Now from here, remember, when you're applying your limit, okay, 4 is going to stay exactly like it is. It doesn't have an x in it, but what is this piece going to go to? Is that a Bobo, Botan, or a Betsy? That's a Bobo. So that means that this part is 0. Well, then what's 4 plus 0? 4 plus 0 is 4. So answer choice E should have been 4. Okay? Good. So if e to the x is on its own, you have to consider that option. Okay, take a look at number 11. X is approaching 0. If I plug in 0 on the top, what do I get? So that'd be 7 times 0 is 0, plus sine of 0 is 0. So the top comes out to be 0. What about the bottom? E to the 0 is 1, minus 1 is 0. When the top and the bottom both come out to 0, what do you do? L'Hopital's rule. So it would be L prime H, really it's L apostrophe, I guess, H. Okay, L'Hopital's rule says I need to take the derivative as x approaches 0, and then I'm going to take the derivative of the top and the bottom separately and then plug in again. So 7x plus sine x, what's the derivative? 7 plus cosine x. On the bottom, what's the derivative of e to the 2x minus 1? E to the 2x times 2? What about the 1? Goes away, then do what with your 0? Go back in, plug it in. So on top, I have 7 plus the cosine of 0, 2e to the 0. But what's the cosine of 0? 1. 7 plus 1 is 8. 2e to the 0 is 2 times 1, which is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, 12 and 13, I messed up when I wrote them, so we're going to skip them and go to 14. Yes. Actually, 12 we can do. What's the limit as x goes to infinity? Look at your highest power and your lowest power. On top, what's the biggest thing? 8x. On bottom, what's the biggest thing? E to the x, who's bigger? Bottom, which is Bobo, so it should be, add in answer choice E, should be 0. Okay? Alright, so the one that I want to focus on, this is off of the AP test, and I thought this one was really tricky. So I'm going to give you a minute to look at number 14. Okay, so it says to find horizontal asymptotes. So what would you be looking at? Limits to infinity and negative infinity. But I want you to think about the fact that some of your terms have exponents in them, and that's going to end up mattering. So take a second, see if you can figure any of it out. So I'm going to write my limit separately. I'm going to do the limit as x approaches 0 first. I'm sorry, as x approaches infinity first. And then I'm going to do the limit as x approaches negative infinity second. Okay, so let's talk about it. So for the first one, what's the answer? Positive 1? Negative 1. Because what's your first term on top? Positive, right? And your bottom one is negative. Now, one other thing I want to point out here is that your top term here is 1 times 2 to the x. Your term here is negative 1, 2 to the x. So you're not actually taking 2 over negative 2. You're taking the coefficients, right? So it would be 1 over negative 1, which divides to what? Negative 1, right? So it's kind of like a Betsy. You have both equal. They're both 2 to the x. So then I pick positive 1 over negative 1, which is negative 1. Now, the correct answer is not here, but we're going to find the other one because I cut it off. It was answer E. Okay, so when you're doing the second one, can I move 2 to the x up and this 2 to the x down among the big fraction? Answer is no. Remember back to here? What did we say about e to the x if it's added to something? You got to treat him as his own little fraction. So the way that this is going to break down is you do 5 plus 1 over 2 to the x, and then 1 minus 1 over 2 to the x. Okay, remember that it is not algebraically sound for you to be like, oh, negative, move it up. He's attached to the 1, and they're added or subtracted. You can't move them like that. So when you separate them like this, what does just this little piece go to? Bobo, Botner, Betsy. 1 over 2 to the x, just this piece. That's a 0. So on top, what do you get? 5 plus 0 is 5. Okay, now on bottom, what does just this little piece with the x in it go to? 0. And so then it's 1 minus 0 is 1. So the top is 5. The bottom is 1. 5 over 1 is 0. So this piece right here went to 0. This piece went to 0. So you get 5 over 1, which is 5. So answer choice E should have been both of those two answers together. Okay, it should have been y equals negative 1 and y equals 5. Okay? Alright, so I would like for you to get out homework 1. Does anybody not have it? We're done with notes on limits. If you were gone the Friday homework 1 was passed out, you don't have to go back and redo them, but it'd probably be a good idea. Anybody else? Homework 1 is from a while ago.
Okay, we've gone for the 8 things.
Okay, so partner up with a friend. I'll bring you a little snacky snack, okay? And you're going to really hard work on homework number 1. Homework 1. You can do it. Good. And then did anybody do their study session yesterday that I need to sign off? Yes. Then just pull it out and I'm going to come around. Yes, that's fine. You can just go now if you want. Or you can wait. Okay, so you're working on homework 1. We're taking the AP test. We can't wait to work on homework 1. Jasmine, it's right here, hon. There you go. You're welcome. Leilani, you said you have just delaying. him yesterday? Who's FRQ number 1? I know, I saw you. Good. So good. Yes, ma'am. You should put the second one first, but if you put this backwards, but you also put those backwards, it would work itself out. But if you reverse that one and didn't reverse that one, it would make your answer like this supposed to be 8. So. Yes.
I just use one question.
Betsy.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. I love to help. So if X is going to infinity, it's Bobo, Bottom, or Betsy. Remember what those are? Okay. So then that makes it both equal, that's Betsy. Both equal, take coefficient. So you'll do double. Then if X is approaching a specific number, you just plug that number in. Now if that doesn't work, where you take the derivative on top of that. But that won't happen eventually. You do L'Hopital's rule where the top and the bottom both come out to be 0 once you plug in. So like on this one over here, if I were to have tried to plug in this one, the ln of 1 is 0. That's what I get. Then I plug in 1 down here, I get 1 to the 4th minus 1. That comes out to be 0. That's how you know that you're doing it. The only functions that it will change if it's a positive or a negative infinity, if it has an e to the x or 2 to the x, if it has an exponential, because those can flip. But if it doesn't have one of those, then you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so what are we doing on number 1? Yes. Okay, what about that one? So look at your powers. If it's x to the 5 versus x to the 3. Yeah. Okay, and then skip down to this one. So whenever there's one like this, you're going to have to multiply the top and bottom terms. So what's 2x times?
I forgot completely how much. I know it's
Okay, so it's a negative 2x squared on top. And then when you get on bottom, you times x times x. And you really only care about the biggest power. No, because this is the best. So if they're both equal, then you do negative 2 over 1, which would be... Yep. Wait, no, this is a what? Betsy is when they're both equal, when the powers are the same. You take
the first, like,
both equal.
the first 10.
This is a 1x to the 3. That's a 4x to the 3.
I pretty much guess on all of this because I've never done it. So I think
But you only use that when the powers are equal magnitude. So if it's x3 and x3, that counts.
so I literally just this one
What is your reception set in class?
I probably got like a 30. So it's pretty
Okay,
good.
so you want it to be the
No,
integral
it's
from
not. You better get it.
Okay, so if I'm starting from 1, from 1 to 6, that means that I want all of this.
I got a lot of
from
B's.
here
I got all
to
of
here.
Yeah. It easy.
Oh, this one, so
I didn't
sorry.
give her many.
Okay, so if you want find h prime,
I know for
then you're gonna need to do coverage rule. You did that? Okay, and then you're just plugging in x equals 0. Well, so they want the equation of the tangent line, so you're actually gonna need to plug in the 2. H prime will give you the slope of the tangent line really
no,
quick.
Brendan like knew I was gonna go. So he like
So set up h of 0
sleep
equals,
with his
we'll plug into this one first.
like on the bottom.
And so when you plug in 0, you'll have cosine
Bro, I
of
feel like-
a times 0.
Like my head is like completely full, but then
What's the
I'm
cosine of 0?
Maybe my eyes just suck, but like I really should like register what time it is.
Is this obvious that
When
I'm
f of 0, it's given
Yes.
to you. So your point is 0, 2. And then for your slope, you'll plug in here, and you'll use your f prime values that are given. Okay, you're welcome. if x is approaching 1, you just plug that number in. So if x is going to either infinity, plus or minus infinity, you're doing both of that's. But if it's approaching a number, you plug that number in.
So 1 minus 2 plus 3.
Wait, so
Great. So how do you
Join it.
Yes, I'm going to get dinner with Mary tonight. Ashton's spending the night. So I was invited by a person, but it's and then on Saturday, I'm going to have lunch with my sister. And then I'm taking my parents to dinner for their birthday. And then I'm going to and then Sunday I think I'm going to go see that Avengers thing. I played a ball game. It's called DFW Sports Stadium.
There's another door.
It is. Have you been there?
Yeah,
How?
There's someone at the door.
Come in. What's up? It work for me? Oh no! What is this? That's your review? Oh, okay.
Miss, you want to play some volleyball? Miss.
My favorite thing to do. Okay, I may have to make another coffee.
I'll join you, Miss. Or join you.
You can't join me.
Why not?
You're too young. You can't even get in.
I'm 18. It's okay. Oh, at bar? Oh, it's okay. You put it out.
You actually can get in, I think,
Just mark me.
early,
Yeah, it's okay. I can mark.
and they'll give you like an X
okay,
on your hand.
I suck at it.
Yeah, I'll have to make you an. Do you want it like to study?
I like actually did
I'm just gonna give you mine since we did most of it together, and will you just do the ones that are left over?
What do you think you do best?
In volleyball?
Do you play
I like digging. Is that where you dive? So that's my favorite.
Are you good? Or are you just
I can't jump very high at all, so that really holds me back.
You should.
Like when people try to like have me like spike, that just never works out. But
I kind of suck, but I want to interact. I can be cool.
it's really fun.
Yeah.
I didn't play rec there. I swam rec there. They have like a bunch of iron floors, and I played flag football.
I'm gonna do it. I
You
wanna do
bench?
something.
Like bench
It's
press.
so expensive.
I feel like you're like a
Something.
full bench.
No! For what? For football? No, because girls never want to play flag football. So they would actually, and every play you have to have a girl be a part of it. So
you're
they
basically
except my worst thing for football is that I would catch the ball and be like so excited I caught it that I wouldn't run. And I can't like run and catch at the same time. So they'd always be like run straight and then turn around. And then I'd catch it and be like, yay! And then get my flag goal.
Oh my god, I got it!
Yeah, literally exactly like that, basically. Thank you. Good.
are you gonna do it during the summer?
Okay,
Oh my god.
we're just finding each other. So X is 2, you plug in 6. One of these is going to come out to be 0. I don't remember which one. And we'll have to
May offer.
Oh no,
What are
yes.
the answers?
Some of them are not multiple choice.
Is this one that one thing? Is this one bigger on bottom?
Yep, so it'd be
Oh, but
bigger on bottom is 0.
I got like 3 or 4.
Okay, we're working so hard.
I can Becky for helping you.
Oh, sorry. Here I am, ready to help. You did, but you, so you're really close, you forgot chain rule. So the derivative of sine 4x is cosine 4x times, what's the derivative of the middle? 4 sine times by 4x. And then when you plug in your 0, yeah, which is, okay? That one's right. You're good? So it's actually 1 and 2. So remember that remember that for a limit, you just hide the side of the paper. Is it going to a certain number? Then that counts as a limit, even if there's a hole. Now the other side, is it going to a certain number? Okay, then it has a limit. But the third one, see how they took the plus or minus off? That's where they have to equal on both sides.
And I listened to it, I'm like, pretty character.
Then it would be fine. So your left side, you cover one half of the paper, right side, you cover the other half. And then when you don't have a plus or minus, both halves have to be covered. The open and closed circles, they don't matter for this.
No.
He's going to spinal surgery.
Are you productive? Okay, your
We actually play,
FRQ is
I know.
I know.
Yeah, I literally, I tried on one.
We don't judge important things off Joseph's progress.
That is,
He's not taking
as
it.
Morgan said.
So I asked him why he didn't just drop it. He's like, I like this class. What's the change on me? And he was like, yeah, I like all the friends in class. And he didn't want him to change his schedule. He was sick. But he's here.
Like she was like the very last one.
I saw him like picking that.
I'm kind of insulted by that.
I just put my pencil down.
Like just like every like
During the test, you took a
that one.
I did that during
small math.
the English, AP English test last year. I took it in between
Like they look more comfy.
in between us, but you
No, no.
finished them
Already.
already.
No, like, there's like 2 or 3 essays, right? I did one. Right?
Okay, if it started at 12, I would have done a lot better.
Okay, but the real AP test is at 7:30.
I know.
So,
I was actually really busy that night, like the night before, so I slept really late.
so yes or no on this
I mean,
limited
I
extra?
get like 4 hours sleep a day. So like at first, at the beginning of the year, I was like, hey. And now I'm just chilling.
I love to help, Marcel. How we doing?
Pretty good.
So if you get 0 on bottom, you have to. So that'd be Danny.
I'm looking on TK.
I think maybe your numbers are off on those, but I'll do it in a second. Well, you end up having to do both. So what you're going to do is a substitution. Yeah, so then you'll plug that into your derivative. And then, I know. It's okay, it's Friday.
I just want to guess what my actual score is.
You literally do chapter score.
You don't care about the dot, it's going to whatever they got. Okay, good, now we're about to get And then, so x is going to 2 and your y is going, this would be like -1 without big suits. But then for your third, how they do the plus minus off, that means your left and rights have to be the same. They have to be equal to each other. No, so one side, so look. Bye, you too. So your left side on that one is approaching a different value than your right side. So like if you were to label the axis here, so make this side a 1, this a 2. So my limit as x approaches 2 from the left, so it's negative, is approaching, what's my y value? 2.
Oh, just look at the Y value.
The y value,
And then this
yeah.
one be approaching 1.
This one is approaching 1, which means that this limit does not exist. Because my left and right limits didn't come out to the same. So these holes, open hole, closed hole, don't matter at all when it comes to limits. You're only looking at is it approaching a certain value or not.
So what about the open holes? What is that?
It comes into play in determining if it's asymptote or visceral. So the difference is that in asymptote, your limit doesn't exist because your graph's going to exist. But a hole, your limit still exists because you're going to that value, it's open, but your limit's still there. So look at the next question. Okay, it says, for which of the following does the limit as x approaches 4 exist? So looking at the first graph, I have an open hole, but from the left to the right side,
Because no oil was on
then that limit exists.
So we gotta
What about graph number 2?
So I mean, how do you destroy the oil companies without destroying everything? It's hard.
Because it's so green.
No, because my limit from the left is coming out to 4, but my limit from the right is coming out to 2, so those are not the same. They aren't the same. Then you would have, yeah, so like, for example, just my limit from the left was 3, my limit from the right was 3, so that's what my limit does exist. Okay?
These giant buildings that produce their batteries and stuff, solar panels, all that
Yes,
stuff.
thank you.
They're also gonna start producing their cars. Therefore, not only are they helping the world by producing the energy and stuff.
You guys are in here again today. You can say her class doesn't have AC, so she's just. So if you want to stay, I'll pull a desk.